You have been told that success comes from big moments, from rare bursts of energy, from a sudden wave of motivation that lifts you above everyone else. It sounds appealing, it feels right, but it is not true. Success does not come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do every day, even when nothing seems to be happening. The world celebrates results. It shows you the finish line. It shows you the highlight. It shows you the moment when everything finally works. But it hides the quiet days, the slow days, the days when nothing moves and nothing changes on the surface. And this creates a dangerous illusion. You begin to believe that progress must feel exciting, that growth must be visible, that effort must bring quick results. And when it does not, you assume something is wrong. Ask yourself, how many times have you started something with energy only to stop when the excitement faded? Not because you could not continue, but because it stopped feeling rewarding. This is where most people lose. Not at the beginning, not at the end, but in the middle. The middle is where consistency lives. And consistency is not exciting. It is quiet. It is steady. It is often invisible. But it is also the only force that can truly change everything. Think of it this way. Imagine a massive stone being shaped by water. Not by force, not by pressure, but by a steady drip, one drop at a time, day after day, year after year. At first, nothing seems to happen. You look at the stone and see no change. You question the process. You doubt the method. But the water does not stop. It does not rush. It does not demand results. It continues. And over time, the stone changes. Not because of intensity, but because of consistency. Your life works the same way. Every action you repeat is a drop of water. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you shape something within you. Not immediately visible, not instantly measurable, but deeply real. And this is what most people fail to understand. The real work is not what others see. The real work is what you repeat when no one is watching. It is the early mornings when you choose discipline over comfort. It is the late nights when you choose effort over distraction. It is the quiet decisions that never get applause. That is where everything begins. You do not rise in a moment. You build in silence. And then, one day, the world notices what you've been building all along. There is a simple law that governs progress. Preparation meets opportunity. People often talk about opportunity as if it's random, as if it appears out of nowhere and favors a few. But opportunity is not the problem. The problem is preparation. Because when opportunity arrives, it does not ask if you are ready. It reveals whether you are. And readiness is not built in a moment. It is built through repetition, through consistency, through showing up again and again, even when there is no immediate reward. Ask yourself, if the opportunity you were waiting for appeared today, would you be ready? Not hopeful, not willing, but ready. Because hope is not enough. Willingness is not enough. Only preparation is enough. And preparation is built quietly. It is built through daily effort that no one sees, through practice that feels small, through actions that seem insignificant in the moment. But these actions stack. They accumulate. They create a foundation that holds when pressure comes. And pressure will come. Pressure does not create your habits. It reveals them. When things are easy, anyone can perform. When conditions are perfect, anyone can move forward. But when pressure arrives, when things become uncertain, when results are delayed, that is when your patterns are exposed. Consider the athlete who trains daily even when tired. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently. When the moment of competition comes, they do not rise to the occasion by chance. They fall back on what they have practiced. Or consider the student who studies a little every day. Not just before the exam, not in bursts of panic, but steadily. When the test arrives, there is no rush, no fear, no confusion, because the preparation has already been done. Now compare that with someone who relies on last-minute effort, someone who waits for pressure to force action. At first, it may seem to work. Sometimes urgency creates movement. Sometimes stress creates short bursts of performance. But it doesn't last, because it's not built on consistency. And under real pressure, it collapses. This is the difference. Not talent, not intelligence, but patterns. What you repeat becomes what you rely on, and what you rely on determines how you perform when it matters most. This is why focus is so important. Not occasional focus.
Without consistency, the loop breaks. You learn but do not apply. You apply but do not evaluate. You evaluate but do not correct. You correct but do not persist. And progress stops. But when you stay consistent, even imperfectly, the loop continues. And every cycle makes you better. Not dramatically, not instantly, but steadily. And steady progress is powerful. This brings you to another truth. Discipline is more reliable than motivation. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It depends on how you feel, and feelings are not stable. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel weak. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you feel tired. If you depend on motivation, your progress will be inconsistent because your emotions are inconsistent. But discipline is different. Discipline is a decision. It is a commitment to act, regardless of how you feel. Not because you are inspired, but because you have decided. And decisions are more stable than emotions. When you build systems around discipline, you remove the need to rely on feelings. You create structure. You create routine. You create a path that you follow, even when you do not feel like it. Ask yourself, do you act only when you feel ready, or do you act because it is time? This question defines your progress, because the person who waits for the right feeling will always wait, and the person who acts without waiting will always move. Not faster, but further. And distance matters more than speed. This is where patience enters. Not passive patience, not waiting without action, but strategic patience, the kind that understands time, the kind that respects process. Think of growth like seasons. There is a time to plant, a time to nurture, a time to wait, and a time to harvest. But you cannot rush the seasons. You cannot plant today and expect to harvest tomorrow. And yet this is what many people try to do. They start something and then expect immediate results. When results do not come, they assume failure. But nothing has failed. It is simply not matured yet. Ask yourself, are you quitting too early? Are you abandoning seeds before they have time to grow? Because consistency requires patience. It requires the ability to continue even when there is no visible progress, even when results are delayed, even when doubt appears. You continue because you understand that growth takes time, and time rewards consistency. But time alone is not enough. Time with direction matters. This is where feedback becomes important, because repetition without correction leads to stagnation. You must observe, you must measure, you must be honest with yourself. Not harsh, not critical, but clear. What is improving? What is not? Where are you making progress? Where are you stuck? This awareness allows you to refine your approach, to adjust your actions, to become more effective over time. And when you combine consistency with refinement, you create momentum. Momentum is powerful because it reduces resistance. At the beginning, everything feels difficult. Every action requires effort. Every step feels heavy. But as you continue, something changes. The effort becomes lighter. The process becomes familiar. The resistance decreases. And what once felt difficult becomes natural. This is the beginning of momentum. And momentum creates compounding. Small actions, repeated consistently, begin to produce larger results. Not because the actions changed, but because they stacked. One day, the progress seems small. 2 days, still small. 1 week, barely noticeable. But 1 month, something shifts. 3 months, you begin to see change. 6 months, others begin to notice. 1 year, the difference is undeniable. This is the power of compounding.
It is slow at the beginning, but powerful over time. And consistency is what activates it. Without consistency, there is no compounding, only scattered effort. And scattered effort produces scattered results. But focused, consistent effort produces exponential growth. This is where most people underestimate the process. They look at someone who has achieved something significant and assume it happened quickly. But what they see is the result, not the repetition behind it, not the days of quiet effort, not the moments of doubt, not the discipline required to continue. They see the outcome, but not the consistency. And because of this, they misunderstand the path. They chase intensity instead of repetition. They chase excitement instead of discipline. They chase results instead of process. But the process is everything, because the process creates the person, and the person creates the results. If you focus only on results, you will become impatient. But if you focus on process, you will become consistent. And consistency